as follows. There's a few parts to this question. Assalamu alaikum.
Can you speak louder, please?
Yes, is it better now? Not yet?
A little more.
Let me make it the volume. Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, alhamdulillah. So, the question goes as follows. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I have a question about the second version of the concept of mustad'af relating to limitations of the person's mindset. So this is about divine justice, the book of Sheikh Mutari. I can understand the situation of a conventional mustad'af who has no role in the situation around him. But when we talk about someone having a limited sensitivity to the truth, isn't it normally the result of a person's own choices and misdeeds? Isn't closed-mindedness a type of arrogance? Or does it talk about individuals who have not encountered the truth of Islam and cannot generate the intention of researching it due to common mindset of his society? But then how is it different from the conventional concept? Can you please explain the difference between the idea of the conventional mustad'af and this mustad'af who has limited sensitivity to the truth for some reason, as well as Allama Tabatabai's argument in more detail?
Mustad'af normally in this context is applied to the people that are not responsible for this condition. People that without their own fault or guilt are in a position that are not able to understand the truth as they should. They have been not brought up properly, or they live in a society or environment in which truth is not very much available or accessible, or there is tyranny which would not let them flourish in their understanding and search for truth. They have been through generations brought up and taught in a way which was not compatible with the truth. Anyway, these are mustad'af in this context.
So is there any variation? I mean, from the question, it seems like there's some kind of different. So there's no variation.
In this context, no, because mustad'af sometimes we use for people who are financially, for example, deprived or oppressed. But in this context, al-mustad'afun refers to this type of people.
It's at the intellectual level.
Intellectual, psychological, kind of depriving.
Thank you so much. There's a follow-up to this question, and inshallah I'll leave to you the answer. Basically, there's a follow-up, and the follow-up says, what position do mustad'afin have in fiqh, if any at all, for those maraji' who consider a person's belief as a factor influencing ritual purity, tahara? Would mustad'af be considered pure?
I don't know what is exactly the question. So for fiqh, we have certain criteria. If this person, for example, is a Muslim, but not, for example, a Shia, or is not a Christian, he's a Christian and not a Muslim. It depends on the issue in the fiqh. Sometimes we don't need to be Shia, sometimes we don't need to be Muslim. Depends on the case. I don't know if I understood the question.
Inshallah, we leave it to those who asked it to clarify.
In any way, in fiqh, we are very clear, I think, where there is a requirement of true understanding and where there is no requirement of true understanding, and what level of understanding is needed in different cases. The question is very good. Just I am not sure if I understood the question. Sometimes my mind might not be very sharp.
Astaghfirullah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. There's a general question here. I don't know if this was asked before. Okay, but this is a different, I guess it's a follow-up on the question of choosing a marja, but it seems like it's a variation from previous questions. So the question is the following: what advice would you give to someone who is considering changing their marja? We're supposed to follow the person we feel is the most educated, and I've heard there is a type of board of scholars who choose these candidates. What is the best way to go about researching the various maraja, and what should we look for in ultimately deciding whom to follow?
If your current marja is selected by you based on criteria that we have in fiqh, then you should not change it unless you are sure that there is someone more knowledgeable than him, or at least is equal to him. According to some maraja, we can shift to someone who is equal. So if you are not sure and you think that maybe the existing one is more knowledgeable, if there is a chance, you should not change. But if someone was following a marja without a study and investigation, and now is in doubt, so now he should start investigation and follow the one who has more evidence on his side to be the most knowledgeable and at the same time pious. In any case, if you are sure that there is someone other than your marja who is more knowledgeable and qualified, then certainly you have to shift. But if you are not sure and you have previously established that your marja was more knowledgeable, you should remain with him. Unless you can prove that the situation has changed and now there is someone better than him or equal to him, then you can shift, or if it is better, you must shift.
Thank you very much. And perhaps one more question for today.
Yes.
This is about, sorry, I'm using a new mouse and I'm trying to figure it keeps, okay, there it is.
Yes.
Alright, so what should be the etiquette when we sit down to study any material, and specifically Islamic material?
What should
be the etiquette, the adab, when we sit down to study any material, but specifically Islamic material?
Oh, good question. I think in Jose series of Akhlaq, we had few sessions of manners of studying and discussing and this type of thing. But basically, if you want to be more efficient in your study, you should consider the most productive time and environment for a study. Study needs your body and mind to be in good condition and form. Otherwise, you spend time but you don't get the result. When you are too tired, too sleepy, it's not a good time for a study. When there is too much noise and distraction, it's not good time for a study. You have to plan for yourself to have good time for a study as much as possible. If you don't have, then okay, use whatever time is available. But It's also better if you have wuzu, if you face Qibla, you start with the dua of study that we normally start with. Allahumma akhrijni min dhulumat al-wahm wa akrimni bi nur al-fahm. Allahumma aftah alayna abwab rahmatik wa anshur alayna khaza'in ulumik. Try to make notes, try to review what you have studied. Ad-darsu harfun wa takraru alfun. In the Hawza we say, you take one lesson, one subject, but you repeat it 1,000 times. So instead of taking 1,000 lessons, take one lesson but repeat it many times, so that you absorb, you grasp. Discussion is very important, reviewing is very important. So these are some manners that we should have. Something very important is also to study with joy, not with fear, not with feeling that I cannot learn, I'm going to forget. No. When something you study with joy, with interest, with excitement, your emotions are also involved, inshallah you remember them.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. That's a very happy answer.
Yeah.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to build on it, inshallah.
Inshallah.
We come to the part where we have the greetings